Something extraordinary is happening in professional tennis right now. And if you blink, you might miss just how historic this moment actually is. For nearly 2 decades, the sport belonged to 3 men. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic didn't just dominate tennis. They redefined what human beings were capable of on a court. They set records that most analysts genuinely believed would stand untouched for generations. And then, quietly, almost without warning, 2 young men arrived and began dismantling everything we thought we knew. Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. One from a small town in southeastern Spain, the other from the Italian Alps. Neither of them was supposed to be ready this soon. Neither of them was supposed to arrive with this much force, this much composure, this much sheer devastating quality. And yet here we are, watching 9 consecutive Grand Slam titles split between just 2 players, and the tennis world is slowly waking up to the fact that something genuinely once in a generation is unfolding right in front of us. 9 Grand Slams, between 2 players, back to back to back. Think about what that actually means. It means that every single major championship across the last 2+ years of professional tennis has ended with either Alcaraz or Sinner lifting the trophy. Not occasionally, not most of the time, every single one. The rest of the tour, packed with talented, experienced, dangerous players, has been completely locked out. That is not a hot streak. That is a statement about the current order of the sport. Jim Courier, a man who won 4 Grand Slam titles himself and has spent decades watching this sport evolve at the highest level, sat down recently and tried to articulate what makes this duo so different, so difficult to explain, and so thrilling to watch. And what he said was fascinating, because he didn't simply call them better than what came before. He was far more precise than that. He described them as players who grew up studying the Big Three, internalizing everything that made Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and even Andy Murray so formidable, and then essentially upgraded the model. They took the blueprint and ran it through a completely different engine. Courier's framing was striking. He talked about lighter rackets, faster movement, and a brand of tennis that carries all the tactical intelligence of the previous generation but delivers it at a higher tempo. These are not players who grind you down through attrition the way Djokovic sometimes did in the later rounds of majors. These are not players who simply out-rally you until your legs give out. Alcaraz and Sinner come at you aggressively, constantly, relentlessly, and they do it while standing dangerously close to the baseline, which means the ball is coming back at you faster with less time to breathe, less time to reset, less time to think. And that, when you really consider it, is what separates them from almost everyone else on the planet right now. Mats Wilander, one of the most respected voices in the sport and a man who won 7 Grand Slams himself across 3 different surfaces, sees this rivalry through a slightly different lens. When he looks at Alcaraz and Sinner, his mind goes immediately to Federer and Nadal, which is perhaps the highest comparison available in modern tennis. That rivalry was built on contrast. Federer was elegant, precise, a right-handed artist who floated across the court and made impossible shots look routine. And then Nadal came, and he was everything Federer wasn't. Left-handed, ferocious topspin, relentless physicality, a player who seemed purpose-built to make Federer uncomfortable. Wilander's point about Alcaraz and Sinner is different, though, because unlike Federer and Nadal, these two are not opposites. They are not contrasting styles built to cancel each other out. They are remarkably similar. They both move with extraordinary athleticism. They both play deep in the court. They both generate tremendous pace and spin. They both have the ability to shift gears in a single rally, to go from defensive retrieval to explosive attack in the space of 2 or 3 shots. And yet when they meet each other, the matches are not boring. They are not predictable. They are some of the most electric, physically demanding, technically breathtaking matches the sport has produced in years. Wilander made another observation that deserves attention. He suggested that athletically, Alcaraz and Sinner may already be operating at a level beyond what Federer and Nadal were capable of. Not in terms of skill, not in terms of tennis intelligence or shot-making artistry, but in pure physical movement, in the flexibility and speed and recovery that these two young men display point after point, set after set, match after match. He sees something that even the greatest players of the previous generation did not quite possess. That is an extraordinary claim, and yet it is difficult to argue with when you watch them play. Sinner, in particular, has been doing things in recent months that have left statisticians scrambling to find historical context. He has already matched records held jointly by Federer and Nadal, all-time records that took those two legends years of sustained excellence to accumulate. He is doing it at an age when most elite players are still figuring out how to handle the pressure of major tournament situations. The Italian is ice cold. He does not panic. He does not tighten up when the stakes are highest. If anything, he seems to find something extra precisely when the moment demands it, which makes the news about Roland Garros this year particularly difficult to process for tennis fans. Because Carlos Alcaraz will not be there. He has withdrawn through injury, and with his absence confirmed, the path through the draw for Sinner becomes significantly clearer. The French Open, that iconic red clay cathedral of the sport where Nadal built his legend across more than a decade, now stands as the one remaining Grand Slam that Sinner has not yet won. A career Grand Slam, the achievement that puts a player in the most exclusive company the sport has to offer. And this year, in Paris, without his greatest rival standing across the net in the final, Sinner has a genuine opportunity to claim it. That storyline would be compelling enough on its own, but it is made heavier by what it represents for the broader rivalry. Because the relationship between Alcaraz and Sinner has already become something that neither player could have manufactured on their own. They need each other. They push each other. The sport needs both of them present, healthy, and competing at maximum intensity to reach the heights that Courier and Wilander are already describing in near-legendary terms. Courier said it plainly. If these two remain healthy, this will be one of the greatest rivalries the sport has ever seen. He is not speaking hypothetically or trying to generate hype. He is describing what is already in front of us and simply pointing toward where it goes if the trajectory holds. 9 Grand Slams and counting. Already seen across all 3 surfaces. Already producing moments that people will describe to younger fans years from now with a certain reverence in their voice. The Big Three gave tennis 2 extraordinary decades. They gave the sport a standard that seemed impossible to maintain, let alone surpass. And then, right on cue, as if the sport had planned it this way, 2 young men stepped forward and made it clear that they had been paying very close attention. That they had studied every serve, every forehand, every tactical decision, every moment of mental strength and physical brilliance, and had been quietly preparing to carry all of it forward into something new. We are at the beginning of something. That much is already certain. How far it goes, how many titles change hand between these two, how many defining moments are still waiting to happen, nobody can say for sure. But what Courier said feels true in the deepest sense. If Alcaraz and Sinner stay healthy, if their careers continue on the path they are currently on, then the sport has found its next chapter. And it is going to be extraordinary.